Days 5 hot takes. Yeah. Okay, we're back with Lucie Silvas. Days 5 faves. I don't know what I'm calling this. This is what I'm calling right now. But this was hard, Lucie. I'm going to tell you. Like I can show you the sheet. I crossed out songs that I wanted to talk about because it was that classic thing of like I'd be listening to it. I'm like, yeah, that one. And I'd be like, oh no, shoot, there's this one too. No. So I'm just gonna name songs and you tell me whatever you want about them.
Okay.
Talk to me about Letters to Ghosts.
Okay, Letters to Ghosts. What a fun song. Again, an interesting story because it was written over years. It just changed a lot.
Oh, wow.
And so John Green and I wrote that song. He started playing that guitar riff, which I loved. I was like, wow, that's cool. It's just, and started singing this bluesy melody, just kind of happened. And we kind of recorded, and even that pre-section that only happens once before the chorus.
That's right.
Chords was so cool. He was playing, I was just singing melodies along with it. And John started singing the words Letters to Ghosts. And I was like, you keep singing that sentence. I don't know what it means, but I like it. It sounds good. It's like it just phonetically sounded good. And I said, well, to me, what it makes me feel like is, trying to shake off your ghosts, shake off your past and the stories of your life that haunt you. And I'm almost pleading with them to let me go. And it's sort of such a happy sounding song. It felt so uplifting. It felt, it was so much fun to record. And that chorus sounds so happy, but you're being sort of tortured in a way. It says, I can't let go of somebody I wanted the most. It was somebody I gave so much of my life to, and had decided that, that period of my life was over, and yet it just haunted me. It was just, it was like chains that I couldn't cut loose. And so Letters to Ghosts just feels, and that kind of distinguished a whole album of songs of writing to the former you, and trying to reconcile that person, forgive that person, make that person feel good about the decisions they'd made. And so Letters to Ghosts emotionally has always been a very poignant song for me, a very sort of centerpiece to all the other songs that came after it. Because, and again, we recorded it like 3 times. For some reason, we couldn't get it right. We couldn't quite, it was either too groovy or too Americana or too, I don't know. We just wanted to do the song justice. And it's always been one of my favorites to perform live.
It is. I remember hearing that song the first time. I immediately downloaded it. This is back when, Spotify was in its gestation. So I was, everybody was still buying music. Yeah. I miss those days. But I downloaded it, and I bet you I'm not being facetious when I say I probably listened to it 10 times in a row.
Oh,
it was just that mainline cocaine music where I was like, I need to ingest this as quickly and as much. That's I wish I hadn't gone there. But I feel like
I feel like that about
my huge history with cocaine, which everybody knows so well. But one of the things that I love about that song is I feel like I love it when there's an artist I love that I feel like they just nailed. That is such a good representation of them. And I feel like that song with What You Do is such an incredible, it encapsulates so much of what you do so well in a moment. And I love those moments when an artist and especially a friend that's an artist puts out a song and I'm like, yeah, that's, if somebody's like, now there's a lot of these with you, but at the time it's like if somebody was like, what does Lucy do? I'd be like, yeah, just listen to that song and you'll get it.
Thank you so much. I mean, that's really cool to hear. And also, I mean, I think the reason I loved it, I loved the sound of it, but my sound, changes and evolves or whatever. But lyrically, I think even the last line where it says his love has got me stoned, it's more of that just, how can I have such perfect clarity about something and be so confused and torn by it?
Yeah.
So it's like, it was just lyrically, I think it hit a nerve for me. And obviously I wrote it with one of my best friends in the world. So it was it's a very special, pivotal song for me because it took me on a new path in America as well.
Well, it does. Yes, it did, which is amazing. And I think too, and I'll say this finally about it, I think it is like it's a lesson to me in like what a major chorus can do to a blues verse. Because when that chorus comes in, you're just like, no, everything is right in the world, which is funny because to your point, it's not. Lyrically,
it's not right in the world,
but it feels like it's kind of got this choiry thing happening. Okay,
this
is this is like greatest hits of Lucy, but talk to me about Black Jeans. What a great song.
Oh, thank you. That's another really cool story. I'm so glad you picked that one because truly it might be my favorite song on E.G.O. Because, you know, I was sitting there. It was the first time that I've been a big fan of J.D. McPherson for years. I've been a big fan of Trent Dabbs for years. And they were meeting for the first time on this day.
Oh,
and,
wow.
Two great guitar players, and there's me sitting with the guitar going, I have these two chords and I don't really know. And I was like, I don't know why I'm doing this because I'm an idiot, because those two are incredible musicians. But I was like, I don't know. I feel like maybe it could just be this simple. And I listened to the work tape. JD had the title Black Jeans, and he said, I had this title and I don't, and I always wonder what it would have been to him if he hadn't written it with me and Trent. You know, what would you have done with that title? Because obviously when you're in a room with an artist, with three artists in a room, and we could have each taken that song a different way. But I appreciated so much that he gifted that title to me, for me that day, because it took on a life. I didn't even know where it was going. It just started singing that melody, you know, and it felt so natural and simple, just came out. And, you know, that look in your eyes that says you've got me figured out, it immediately started telling me, you know, wow, we really can't, the toughness of this industry, and feeling like, unless I'm seen by everybody, I'm not seen, which is total nonsense. You know, it's not true, but we convince ourselves of that sometimes. And you walk into a room and you've got all, you know, sometimes executives, you know, they're just, you know, looking at everything that you are and that you say and trying to figure out if there's something there they can work with. You know what I mean? And it got to a point, and I understand that and I'm okay with it, but it so takes away from who you are. It rattles who you are, because I kind of, at that point, I'm done with this. I'm done with worrying about what people make of me. You know what I mean? And so it's not even an angry song. It's a freedom song. And the Black Jeans represented, sometimes I'll put on a personality that says, you know, this is my feisty side. I don't care what you think. I'm doing this my way. I don't care what you think success is or what my artistry is. And it says, when I'm wearing my black jeans, you know, you won't even recognize me. It's a simple thing. Black jeans are classic. We always have them. They'll never go out of fashion. They'll be worn with anything at any time. They're just, when you feel like wearing black jeans, you wear them. And that was kind of my thought about being an artist. It's like, I want to stick around. I want to always be around. And I don't want to be a trend. I just want to be something that's here doing my own thing. And that was the symbolism behind that song. And weirdly enough, we wrote probably a verse and a chorus. I was finishing lyrics in the vocal booth when we were recording the vocal.
Wow.
Because it just kind of was finding its way. It wasn't obvious on the day, but there were fun things when I listened back to the work tape, listening to how we ended the chorus. It was, and that's what makes me feel. I was like, I want something soulful and throwback that brings that Roy Orbison thing back in again, of that kind of rhythm. And JD and Trent are masters of that. That's kind of where they go musically a lot. I think we really did a good job of bringing me, Trent, and JD together that day on a song that's so simple, 2 chords, so simple, and yet it's truly one of my favorite songs, both lyrically and melodically, to sing.
I feel like some of the songs that blow me away the most as a songwriter are when there's a subterfuge, when you feel like you know what the song's about, but you don't.
Yeah,
you know, and the writer, like what you just did. You know, I remember talking to John McLaughlin. He has a song called Indiana that's about the music industry, and but I'll never forget a decade ago, because I'm obsessed with that song. I love that song. And John telling me, oh yeah, you know, I was like, tell me that. He's like, oh, it's about the record industry. And I was like, wait, what?
Yeah.
And then I had to go back and listen. And I was like, oh my gosh, the same, you know, infamous. There's a lot of these actually. I had guy asked me about this, but that I did on the Q&A. But Sarah Bareilles' love song. I'm not going to write you a love song, but the label said, "Hey, we need a love song." So I love those kind of songs, and I'm always amazed. So it's even cooler to hear you explain Black Jeans that way, because I thought I knew what it was about. Okay, talk to me about How to Lose It All. I love this song.
Oh man, I'm so glad you picked that one as well. I was literally talking about that 2 days ago. Again, when I play live, How to Lose It All is just the exhale moment. It is so much fun. And sometimes I've opened the show with that. But to open the show with that made me so happy, because it made me instantly at home on stage.
Yeah.
Because I get very, very nervous before I go on stage. And a lot of my friends have said they see me and they say, okay, you look like a deer in headlights at first. And then something happens to you where something shifts, and then you're somewhere else. Mm-hmm. You're with the audience, but you're somewhere else. You're a kid again, like we talked about earlier. How to Lose It All is the kid in me. It really is. It's like, it's so much fun. It's all those songs that I love listening to, those up tempo, Proud Mary grooves or whatever. And it's just, again, a very self-deprecating subject matter I wrote with Jay Beyer and Ian Fitchuk. And we were together today. I said, I would love to write about, and that's Jabe, like rocking on that guitar, that kind of really beautiful chords. And, Ian's just the groove master. He just knows how everything should sound, and he's got such a natural approach to songwriting. And but I just said, I feel like no one should ever come to me for advice. Like, no one. If you want to know how to mess everything up, please do. Line right up. Like, I'm gonna start charging. Like, it's one of those kind of tongue-in-cheek things of like, stick with me, I'll show you how to make a complete catastrophe of everything you've ever done. And of relationships, of careers, of anything. But there's such a fun nature to it. And it says, don't look now, I'm going to break your heart. It's like, just, how naive I've always been about love before I met John. I think John's taught me a lot about relationships and what they require to really respect and love the person. And, How to Lose It All is so much fun in that way. I love a sort of semi-negative lyric with a really happy sounding song. Like,
and I don't know why, but it reminds me so much of Fleetwood Mac. Like, I always think that sounds like a song that Chrissy why am I totally
Stevie Nicks?
No, not Stevie. What's her name?
Christine
McVie.
McGee.
Gosh,
we both had
call
a brain
her Chrissy.
freeze.
That's why I said that. Yeah. But she was. I mean, actually, James Bay and I talked about this, but she was really the pop genius of that group. The others, I mean, they're genius songers, but she was the one that was like that. She was always just throwing softballs down the middle,
Oh man!
But it always that keyboard part is so iconic.
And that's Ian. That's Ian Fitchuk coming up with that. And I always kind of wanted to play that on stage on my Wurlitzer, but then I have so much. I just got too much. It puts fire in my belly where I want to be up front on stage and move around the stage, and it's just. It does feel like a combination of the kid listening to all my favorite Roy Orbison, Michael Jackson, Stevie, Jackson 5, big up-tempo soul songs or whatever, of, even the Bee Gees, Diana Ross, all those things of real pumped energy. But it was bringing me into it. It was bringing my own story into it. And that's what I always loved about someone like Amy Winehouse. She had this throwback sound reminiscent of the Ronettes and all those people. But lyrically, it was completely modern, and it was completely her, and it was her story, and it wasn't stock lyrics. It was really a story in her identity. And that inspired me a lot. And I was like, I really want to, I don't feel like an artist if I'm not saying all my own things and telling my sad stories.
Yeah, that's right. But it wrapped in, I mean, that song to me is like, it is a great example of, you just do no work. You just listen. I can put that song on. I'm just like, I'm happy. I'm not doing any like, what's going on? It's like, just fun music that I love to listen to. But it's so funny to your point, because it's got such a heavy leaning to it. So talk to me about Everything Looks Beautiful.
Thank you for choosing that one. Again, to sing like, I mean, I keep saying everything's my favorite song, but that one's very special to me because it felt like suddenly this is everything I've ever wanted to be in a song.
Yep.
And so I was sitting with Natalie Hemby and Gabe Simon. he was on the Wurlitzer, I was like, I've got a vision of, I'd see Ray Charles and he has his backing singers and they're in the studio and they're doing a call and answer. And I want to sing a line. I want them to sing it back to me. And we knew that already. So the work tape is very close to how it ended up being, except the genius of John Green in the studio producing that song, the delay on the drums, the sound of the drums, the bass played by John, where, you can hear a lot on the James Bay record, that bass playing is a lot of John. And he's such a great bass player. People often have commented on how he's got this Paul McCartney approach to the way he plays as a songwriter. It's very melodic, the way he plays bass. And, oh man, that song, again, when I'm on stage, I'm like, okay, this is not only really me, but it's everything I've ever wanted to be. And I get to sort of sing my heart out on it, but also it's very intimate. It's very, very intimate song. And it's everything I want love to be. It's, when I wrote it purely with John in mind, saying, you really do bring the joy back to love. You took the pain away from love for me. And that song, I always sing it with him in my mind. And it just feels like all the hardship. And that's not to say you're not constantly evolving in your relationships and working at them. But when I sing that song, I feel like something clicked with relationships for me. And that's that song. And the soulful aspect to it, I just feel like that was, if I could have written a career song just for me, not saying it's a career song, I'm just saying for me, that was it.
I remember it coming on when I heard E.G.O the first time, and I was doing something else and I stopped and I was like, I need to pay attention to this song because I wasn't ready for how much you guys nailed that vibe. It's because, we have things that inspire us that we're always like, oh, like you said, like you're sitting there and you're like, guys, what would it be like if Ray Charles, and you're trying to do it. And, I just feel like for me, so many times those things just fall so flat. Like I'm in my mind, like Stevie would sing, and then I listen back and I'm like, that is the worst version of what I was doing. But I think I just remember thinking they stuck the landing. That's a 10 from the Russian Judge. Like that sounds like it came from Laurel Canyon. It sounds like it came from the 70s and some soul singers cut this song. I mean, I believed it. And I remember thinking like, I got to try to write a song like that. And then like the next day I was like, yeah, I'm never going to pull that off.
Oh, I appreciate that. I mean, you can write anything, but it's true. But you know this, and I know this as songwriters, you cannot plan. I had an idea in my head, but I didn't think anything of it. I didn't expect it to happen. I didn't sit in the studio going, I'm writing a song for my album and it's going to be this, because those songs never work. Because like you say, how do you write we all are influenced by older songs. We're all trying to reshape and reinvent something we love from the past that's ours. And you hear songs like My Girl, or you hear Stand By Me, and you're like, I can't write that. It's just going to be a copy, a terrible copy. And so I didn't expect to go into the studio to write a 6/8 ballad and have it work. I'd never expect it to work, because I'm like, this is just going to be just a photocopy of something, and it's going to be blurry and awful. But this was something that just felt natural. We didn't worry too much about, we didn't overthink it. And I think that the way that it sounded modern, it just did what it wanted to do with a few very clever production tweaks from John. And the singing in the background, that was Jared Kay, who's an amazing everything, and Kristen Rogers. It's just those two answering. And they sounded so beautiful together. They captured, the song is so, I can hand it to them for pretty much making that song what it is, because the way they sing those replies, it's
incredible.
It is incredible. And I did have an idea in my head. I did say, this is very like straight. It's not showstoppery. It's like, just sing it real straight. But the tone of their voices, that is just
crazy.
Them. I did not do that. And so They nailed that, and they made that song what it is.
Well, too, I'll say this too, lastly on that. I think it takes a real, I mean, this sounds crazy probably to you, but I think it takes a real moment of bravery to write a song like that, because it can go so wrong in the writing room. You know what I mean? Where you're like, and then you guys repeat it. And then if you're not careful, for me, I'm already going, God, how do you pull this off in the studio? And it's like, no, leave that alone right now. Just write the song.
Write the song, exactly.
You know, because it's hard not to get ahead of yourself and go, well, live, I'd have to, could I do it in a round, or how would I? But it's like, no, just write it right now. Just we'll figure out the rest later. And so I thought that was so great.
Absolutely. Do you know what? Just to say quickly that that is actually very, very important, because it's okay to just sit there and allow the song to happen, because with Black Jeans, that's what we did. We didn't even know what the song would be. And I remember driving around in the car with John Green, because he lives in England. Before we started in the studio on E.G.O, I had all these work tapes, you know, just rough. You know, Everything Looks Beautiful was just a Wurlitzer and me and Natalie Hemby singing. It didn't have much to it. Neither did Kite, neither did Black Jeans. Wasn't even finished. So I was trying, obviously I'm one of those artists that go, I don't have any songs. I'm about to record an album and I have 0 songs. And I played them to John. I was like, do I have anything here? Is this? And thank God that he kind of said, yeah, there's something really cool about that Black Jeans melody. I can hear that. He could hear it. And that's why you work with someone. You don't write with someone because they're a name or because they're a name. You work it because they hear what you do, and you collaborate on that. So, yeah.
It's okay. And then finally, and I love, this was hard because I wanted to selfishly also talk about Villain, but we're not.
No, we should.
No. I want you to talk about Girls from California, but I want to give a little precursor to that song, because I remember we did a round together. You were almost done recording the new record. In fact, y'all may have been done, and like this would have been like even maybe mixing it at that point. And you were sitting in the round and you were trying to figure out with John how to play that song with John Osborne. And I just remember y'all sitting there and you're like, and I kept being like, what are you doing? Like, I'm trying to work up this new song and make sure we got that. Okay, is that right? No, it was with Jared. It was with Jared.
Jared K. He sang that song for sure.
That's right. Yeah. And so he was working out. But what I want to do now, because I'm selfish and this is my podcast, I want to back up a little more. One of my favorite moments of the Bluebird, and I'm actually on the Bluebird on the Bluebird documentary talking about this. They had me come on and interview me, and I talked about this, and this is what made the movie. Was that we did a round together, you and I and Jeremy Spillman, and there was somebody else that was going to be in the round, and I remember they couldn't do it last minute, and so this is forever ago. And you said, "Hey, are you guys cool if my boyfriend and his brother, who are a band, if they join us in the round?" And just honestly, I was like, oh man, okay.
She pulled the boyfriend card, and how can I say?
Yeah, I was, and here was the thing. It wasn't that. It was just I was like, oh, I know 15 people I could call right now.
Right.
And so honestly, I had this moment of selfishness where I was like, I'm sure this guy's great, and it's gonna be great. But God, I could call all of this guy and the girl.
Totally.
And I just remember being like, yeah, let's do it. And I remember that night. I talk about this in the show. It was one of the most. Every time they did a song, the Brothers Osborne, I was like, holy crap, this is the greatest band I've ever seen. Because John's playing guitar, he's 3 feet from me. I'm just absolutely gobsmacked by his playing. TJ's singing, playing the guitar. His voice is incredible. The songs were bulletproof. And every freaking time we went around, they did another song that I was like, what is that?
What's happening?
Who are these people? So I have, but that said, but fast forward back to our round. I remember you working up Girls from California and you singing the round and me being like, what is this piece of magic? And then what you and John achieved on the record, it's just gorgeous. It's such a beautiful, and again, it achieves exactly what I hope y'all were trying to do, which is it's a great hat tip without being a derivative. It's this beautiful, it's got all these weird, I just remember you and, y'all were sitting down and he was like, is that the key? No, that's the key change. Okay. That's where, because you were like, no, that's it. Okay.
Confused as to how to get back to because originally it was a different change. It was just odd. It worked, but because, when we were writing that, me, Liz Rose and Natalie Hemby, and it was like, okay, yeah, that works. When you come away from a song and you're like, that works. And you're like, but we're all scratching our heads going,
you're doing the squint
to say, no, I'm not sure it completely flows. And Jared came in playing it a certain way, was like, and that key change coming back like it did was so cool. It sounds so normal. It sounds like it's not a key change. And so, and again, it's like, you know, I'm such a huge Beach Boys fan, and that wasn't where the title Girls from California came, because I know they have California Girls, but this is such a different lyrical thing entirely. And I loved it because it sounded so sunny. It sounded it sounds like you're on the beach, but I'm a British girl that comes from a place where the beaches have got lots of pebbles on them and it rains half
and
the time.
Cold. Yeah, they're
and
cold.
It's freaking cold. And it was kind of that juxtaposition I always found myself in, walking down the streets of LA going, I feel really scruffy. I'm very scruffy. Like I need to do my hair. I need to be more presentable. And I always wondered whether, you know, the guys would like that more. It was like, am I just a scruffy British girl that needs to just have a bit of sun on her skin, and I'm so pale and just I need some highlights, and like, you know, and it was kind of a funny song talking about that, saying I'll never be that. I can only be me. And that's what kind of celebrates that notion in the song.
Well, and I think, you know, I think what I hope people understand as they go listen to these, if they don't know them, is that it really does. This is what I kept thinking about as you were explaining these songs, is you're just such a natural songwriter. I think if anybody ever gets a chance to write with you, one of the first things I've realized is you're just not thinking. You're just, people are playing chords and you just start singing. And I think it's just such a hat tip to the genius that you possess, which is just this insanely natural, melodic, lyrical sense. And I think that's why I picked these songs, is because they're so different. I mean, you put up Everything Looks Beautiful against Black Jeans and Girls from California and Letters. They're just different songs, but yet you're the common thing that runs through them. And I think even more of a hat tip to you is, for someone that can sing so well, you have a way to communicate each of them so well, and your voice never gets in the way of the song. It only makes the song better. When I think it would be easy, if I was you, to just like rip my way through every song and like bow before the prowess of singing that I present you with today. No. And so I think it's fun walking through these songs, particularly with you, because I think it really does showcase your innate ability to write, but also your incredible innate ability to sing in a way that just makes the song so much better. And then later, as people watch, I think especially as people see you live, it's just this realization of like, oh my gosh, she's such an incredible singer, you know?
Oh, Dave, you're too kind to me. I mean, I really appreciate that. I think it's like, as a songwriter, the way to approach things. I've always thought that I get into that horrible habit of, you know, losing confidence for a second and saying, I'm doing this because I can't do the other thing.
Right.
You know what I mean? And that's a terrible way to look at it, because really, I think I made a decision in my career that there's this great line in that Woody Allen movie, Vicky Cristina Barcelona, where he says she had accepted the downfalls of taking risks with love. She'd taken heartbreak as a necessary ingredient to being in love. And I think when it comes to songwriting, I thought, okay, I'm not going to try and do something I can't do. I'm going to do what I can do and accept the fallout from that. Accept that as an artist and as a songwriter, I have to do what comes naturally. And the things that don't work or do break my heart, that's just a necessary part of the decision I made. So I think that every time I walk into a room, especially in an industry where sometimes you have one shot with people when you're co-writing, and you feel like, I'm never going to be in this room again because I didn't do what we were supposed to do that day. And not even that, it might have been that, but actually I'm fine with that, because I believe in experiences, I believe in journeys, and I don't expect to hit home runs every time I try and do something.
When songs don't need to be home runs, you know, that's the beautiful thing. Well, you know how much I love you, dear friend. I'm so glad that
I love you.
You took the time to do this. You're the best.
You're the best.
Dave's 5 Hot Takes. Yeah.